health is life. Your health matters. You matter. Health begins in the spirit and the mind. Take time to live well. Well. Yeah, let's go. Come on, get up. Cause you do to the station for your morning motivation to get your education for your health and your spiritual needs. Yeah, strong will to empower the people, to promote the peace, no positive attitude, baby. That's a lifelong dream goal. Yeah, help that is ever here to help you become a better you, to be the best version you can be. Yeah, and it's not with this classic, fantastic. Move for your soul, me and Jackie and Coach Patrick right here. Let's go. Help matters to me. Good morning, good morning. This is Jackie.
And Coach Patrick.
And you're listening to Help Matters here on WAAW Shout 94.7 FM, the station of inspiration and empowerment information.
This is the day the Lord has made.
And we're going to rejoice and be happy, glad, and joyous in it.
Yes, yes, yes. The joy of the Lord is our strength.
Yes, and our salvation. Yes. I tell you, God is good.
All the time.
All the time. He is so good.
Yes, he is.
You know, when, things just don't go the way you expect it to go. You still give him glory. You still give him praise. You still give him honor. Because he's all things.
That's right.
In everything.
He'll change the situation.
Absolutely.
Does it every time.
Just
trusting
in him that he have you. He got your back.
That's
and
right.
And he's a loving God. He's a forgiving God.
Yes, he is. Good morning, CSRA.
Yes, good morning, guys. Give me that morning dose of inspiration.
It's good to be back in the studio. Took a little break.
Yes, absolutely.
Went down to the boom boom.
Oh my goodness.
Mardi Gras.
Went to visit family, and of course, it was Mardi Gras time in Mobile. So everybody don't know that Mardi Gras was birthed in Mobile, Alabama, not New Orleans.
Birthplace.
Not taking nothing away from New Orleans, but it was birthed in Mobile, Alabama.
Yes, it was. Lower Alabama, LA. Well, I tell you, we're at the last weekend of the month of February.
Yes.
Man, if you ain't got your taxes done, you got to get them done.
I know, Coach, get your taxes done. Get our taxes done.
Ain't got much time.
Get them done.
Dread those taxes.
Yes. So, guys, I hope you guys had a great week here in Augusta. We was in LA, as Coach said, Lower Alabama, in the Mobile Port City.
Yes.
It was 80 degrees, guys.
Good weather, good food, good times.
It was a nice time with the family.
Yeah.
Well, we actually kind of got stuck where we were, where we were staying, because stuff was so confined in one area. Everything had changed since the pandemic, so they shut down. We couldn't even call. We couldn't get on the internet. The only thing we could do is text, because of the fact that town was so saturated with so many people.
Right.
So it was
So that's a good time to take a break from it, right? From the cell phone.
I need to do it more often.
Well, listen, let us celebrate those birthdays for this month of February. Everybody's celebrating a birthday. We had a lot of family members celebrate a birthday this month. We've acknowledged them throughout the month. So we just want to wish you and them a happy birthday if you're celebrating a birthday. If you have already celebrated your birthday, happy birthday to you, and happy anniversary to all of those that may have jumped the broom, tied the knot. However you did it, and you're together forever. Happy anniversary. Enjoy yourself, and make many more years of love. Make many more years of memories.
Absolutely. I think of Marcel and Bernita. Palmer Griffin, they celebrated.
They celebrated an anniversary?
Yes.
Awesome.
Oh, that was my day. I think they got me on the Valentine's Day.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary to you guys. Yeah.
Guys, this is American Heart Month, Heart Awareness Month. So just want to remind you that February is American Heart Month, and heart attacks can happen without warning, guys. That's why they call it the silent killer. Family history of a heart attack is a major risk factor. So if a parent or a sibling has had a heart attack, your risk increases by as much as 90%. But there's plenty you can do to lower your risk of having a heart attack. Living a longer and healthier life starts by knowing your numbers. And that's the most important thing. Make sure you're getting your checkup, know your numbers so that you can monitor that and do the things that are necessary for you to decrease your blood pressure numbers.
Yeah, so eating right, eating a good balanced meal.
Physical activity.
Physical activity, managing stress, just getting enough rest.
Lower your sodium intake.
Yes,
so important.
Yeah, and we don't know how important it is this, to get our rest, to get enough sleep, sleep time. Like I said, managing those stressful moments, coping with that mental health.
Right.
All those things plays a role in that because it's a silent killer. So just like you said, managing that blood pressure, make sure you checking it often, especially as you age, because things does shift and change in the blood pressure. What you were expecting it to be when you was younger may be different, another normal, as you age. So that's why you have to be very on point and up to date, like Coach said, with your numbers. And getting those
checkups,
preventative care, going to the doctor, your yearly physicals, and full panel blood work.
Most
that
definitely.
You want to get that done.
Most definitely. And also this month is Black History Month. So listen, we have to teach our children about Black history throughout the year. Not just for the month of February. Yeah, we want to make it big, want to make sure everybody is aware that, Black history is important and we've made a great impact into this country, and not just this country, but in this world. So we need to teach our children about who they are, where they come from, so that they'll know. So important to do those things. We're going to acknowledge our sponsors, our partners, and our friends. Wesby Products and Services owner, Mr. Dunn Wesby. He is the creator of Dunn Seasoning Delight, a multi-purpose liquid seasoning and marinade. His email is seasoningdelight@gmail.com. For locations, recipes, and testimonies, you can visit the website at www.seasoningdelight.com. It's good to you and good for you. And Aiken Chiropractic, Dr. Dan. When your spine is aligned, your body is too. Aiken Chiropractic is located at 425 Lawrence Street Northwest in Aiken, South Carolina. Their number is 803-641-9191, and their website is www.aikenchiropractic.com. To be a sponsor, partner, or friend of the Help Matters broadcast, you can call 706-592-8862. We would love you to partner with us, become our friend, or be a sponsor to help us bring this broadcast to the CSRA community every Saturday at 8 a.m.
All right. Coach, I want to say right quick, guys, CSRA, get ready for Women on in Wellness 2023. It's going to be April the 29th at 10 a.m. at the Kroc Center. Guys, it is all about still becoming who God called us to be. And that's what it's about, still becoming, because we're still thriving. We're most of us are in seasonal times in our lives. When I say that, we're mature women and we're growing, we're going through, but we're thriving through. I like to say we're thriving through because we're still impacting lives, we're still doing things, we're still here, and we're still doing some great things in the community to build healthier community. So guys, there's going to be more information coming forth about Women on Wellness, and so we're excited. So we'll bring you that lineup panel that's going to be on there, and it's going to be a great, powerful time with women that is thriving as they still becoming who God has created them to be.
Awesome. We're going to have an awesome time. This is going to be the 6th annual Women on in Wellness event. And as Jackie said, it'll be at the Kroc Center. It's going to be on April the 29th, which is a Saturday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Going to have a great time. We always have. So we're going to be looking forward to that event. Also, if you want to participate in the Healthy Heart program. We'll be starting another session of the Healthy Heart program to help you monitor and lower your heart, your blood pressure numbers. We're going to start that program next month in March. The exact date will be announced, but if you would like to participate, just give us a call at 706-592-8862, or you can send the email to getfitwithjackie@bellsouth.net. Okay, 706-592-8862, or send an email to getfitwithjackie@bellsouth.net. We would love for you to participate in that program. It'll help you tremendously.
Yes, we are on our way. We are in our second month
Of the first
one,
session.
so we're getting ready to start another one. So yes, so guys, you know what that tune is? That is Health Matters Happening tune, where we bring you relevant information that pertains to your health and well-being.
All right, so this morning, as the month of February is Black History Month, we've dedicated our Health Matters Happening session to Black history. So Rebecca Lee Crumpler, Dr. Rebecca Lee Crumpler, was the first Black woman awarded a medical degree from a U.S. university. Dr. Crumpler graduated from New England Female Medical College in Boston in 1864. She achieved this feat at a time when women, regardless of race, were largely barred from secondary education or higher learning opportunities. She published the Book of Medical Discourses in 1883, which drew information from her clinical experiences to help women better care for their health of their families. Again, this was Dr. Rebecca Lee Crumpler, and that has been your Health Matters Happening in our recognition of Black History Month.
Okay, guys, y'all know we've been talking about building healthier and better families, and we had some great guests on here. You know, we had DC Simpkins. You know, she's making such an impact in the community when it comes to our youth and their, you know, the family, and you know, impacting that part of the community with our young kids. And also we had Donna, our very own general manager, Don, and Donna Moore Westy on. They was talking about, you know, the community and what they do in the emoji village, and all the things about unity, and just, I mean, I'm telling you, it has been awesome. And also we had Liz and Erica Daniel kicking this step out of mom,
Talking
and
about
blended families. And oh man, it's just been great. We just had a great lineup for February, you know, just talking about family, you know, and building healthier and happier family, and just relationships in itself. So we just, I'm telling you, because we need that more and more today, you know, with families and relationship, that connectivity, you know, with family, because, you know, we can lose that.
Yeah.
And we need that, you not only with each other, with our children, how to have adult relationships, you know, a good relationship with your adult children, you know, how to communicate. So these things are very important. And that leads to, you know, our last guest. Y'all know we just say the powerhouse for last, you know, all of them powerful, but I'm telling you, you're in for a treat this morning. And we have our very own Dr. and Michael and Bernita Mitchell from Restoration Ministry International. They're going to be talking to us, and they've been talking to the CSRA for the last 4 years. We haven't had them on here talking about relationships. So you guys are in for a treat. So they're going to be our calling guest this morning. We're going to be talking about relationships, because that is very important. Yes,
yeah, because I mean, Jackie, research shows that healthy relationships can help us avoid illnesses.
Yes.
You know, by adopting healthier habits, and even it helps us to live longer. The quality of our relationships affects our life. And I think we can all attest to that, that the quality of our relationships affects our life. It affects our self-esteem and even our health, as I said, because life can cause stressful challenges in relationships.
Absolutely. And especially, you know, when, you know, you, like you said, challenges, when you experience one or the other significant other can experience a challenge, that can be a challenge in of itself, you know, and how to move through that and how to go through that. And so even with your children, you know, kids leaving home, you know, and dealing with all these different things and elements of growth and maturity, you know, that's a lot that can be on. So it's very important that we talk about these things and we look at these things.
Yeah, so our special guests are on the line, Doctors Michael and Bernita Mitchell. So we're going to go to the line, Jackie.
All right. So welcome, Dr. and Michael Bernita Mitchell. Good morning. Good morning, guys. So glad to have you on the show on building healthier and better families and talking about relationships. So you guys gonna close this session out, and so we just want you guys to go forward. And like I said, we didn't have some powerhouse on here, so we saved another best for last. So we want you guys to bring it, and that's you already know what we're talking about. So building healthier and better families. So we're talking about relationships.
Yeah, so just quickly, you know, Dr. Michael and Bernita, just introduce who you are. Let the CSRA know who you are. I'm pretty sure many of them already do, but we just want to make sure we cover that piece, and then we'll jump right into this interview.
Bernita Mitchell, we're the senior pastors and founders of Restoration Ministries International. And we live, and my wife also is a certified counselor, and so she's and coach, so she life coach people through all kind of relationships and everything else. I am an avid golfer. And I'm a teacher of the Word of God, so I spend a lot of my time also building relationships, helping people get through the things they need to get through to build their relationship and keep it going. You know, in this day and age, people are challenged with so many things coming after them. We have to remember, even though we walk in the natural, we walk in the flesh or we walk in the earth, we don't war in the flesh. We war against principalities and powers. So there's a spiritual warfare from invisible force that do everything it can to limit or hinder us having great relationships. We have to always keep that in mind when we are challenged. Everything that our mates or our friends are doing is not always triggered by them themselves. Many times there are obstacles and forces fighting against us.
Yeah, that's really critical because, you know, one of the things that I've been kind of doing a lot in my own meditation and time and prayer time is understanding the realm of the spirit. You know, just being aware that we are spirit, we have a soul, and we live in a body. And sometimes we get focused so much on what's going on in the natural, and we lose sight of, you know, of who we are in the spirit, and that we are coming up against spiritual attack. So Satan's device is to get us to focus on one another, where our eyes are never centered on him and what he's doing, because, you know, that's him. You know, he doesn't play fair.
You're absolutely right, Pastor. And First Lady, you're absolutely right. And just communicating regularly and being honestly, you know, expressing your needs, and he divide and conquer, you know, and so just talk about communication on a regular basis and just being honest in the relationship.
Yeah, communication is going to be critical at all the time in every relationship. It would behoove any person to intentionally work on that. When we talk communication, we're really saying it's a form of discussion with the intent to agree. So a lot of times people communicate, they're fussing at each other. But when you come and say, I want to communicate, I want to talk, but we got to discuss something, we got to come to the table intending to get an agreement, because that's a place of unity. See, when we think about working together, unity should be our goal. And that's what the Bible says our power plays. With how good and how pleasant it is for us to dwell together in unity. Because that's the place of commanded blessing. That's where God's blessing lies. And so when we think about communication, it's a forum to stop the pain. Because see, people have situations and they're hurting. And life is tough. And so we walk this life out by faith, but sometimes people are in pain. That's not always triggered by the current relationships. Anytime people are in pain by something that happened before, but they have reached a place in their life where they pretty much can't take no more. So we got to communicate because it involves stopping the pain. It involves solving problems. So we face situations in our relationship, but when we can communicate, we can solve the problem. It involves sharing our perspective. Because I know my wife and I, that's one of the things that she's big on is can you get the other person's perspective? None of us are just alike. Even though the two become one, they become one, but they're still uniquely different. And so anytime when it causes a conflict or thing that works against unity is not understanding the other person's perspective.
Yeah, that's very critical. And when it's time to have those talks or times to resolve conflict, disagreement, or just how things are going to take place. One of the things me and Pastor Mitchell have learned to do over the years is just to come to the table prepared to listen and hear and to bring things to a resolve. When people are coming to fight, waiting to get there or to get somebody told, you're just going to give Satan the room to just be all up in that, because, here's one of the most critical points about relationships, even though I know we're targeting family relationships, and this is something we do here in a family. A lot of times, we have to, first of all, understand that there's just going to be differences. There's just going to be elements that we're just going to have to allow, where we're just going to have to understand. And then when we're coming to talk about it, what Pastor said so well, we're coming just to get perspective, because how we're wired in our personality is going to drive that train on how we hear, how we see, and how we do everything. So because no two people are alike, and it tends to be that, especially in marriage, we're drawn to our opposites. So God has already set it up where we're going to have to learn how to become one. So even as a family, and what you also said about our adult children, we have to now do the same thing. We have to move past that place of seeing them as little children, and and how we sometimes needed to communicate with them when they were children, when they were minors, because that's a process too, where when they were like children, grade school kids, there's a way you talk and communicate, and then as they become the adolescent, the teenager, we have to transition to how we talk to them, and then they're learning how they need to talk and do all that. And then when they become adult children, we have to learn now they're adults. And now we want to absolutely demonstrate in that way how we're going to talk, because now we need to see them be what they need to be, and we want to help them grow to become what they need to become. So all those dynamics play out in those relationships as a family. So one of the key things is communication. We come to get understanding. We come to a peaceful resolve. And when we look like we can't, we're not going to leave the table mad with the other person, blaming them, accusing them, none of that stuff. So that's what it's all about. And one of the things he and I have just recently said, we come to know, there's so many dynamics of personality, perspectives, but if we can just not burden ourselves with all this natural work, which is sometimes important and most times is, but we go back to what is the groundwork to all of this, is that's just walking out the fruit.
That's awesome. Go ahead.
Like Holy Spirit, and that'll resolve a lot of it right there. Just like what my personality is and what my perspective is. How am I supposed to be? I can be gentle. I can be kind. I can consider the things of another above my own way of seeing. All of that is what we're really just bottom line asked to do.
That's awesome, Dr. Bernita. I love to hear you talk about that. And you said something about personality, knowing the personality. And I know it's in Timothy. I know you talk about that scripture all the time, know thyself, that personality. And, just knowing how you are wired and how your significant other is wired. And that can help with relationship and communication, and how, what each other needs and what each other's wants is. So I love it when you talk about that the personality, just talk a little bit more about that, just a little bit more.
And how it can affect the relationship.
To become really experts on this, and I'm not even bragging, but because once God revealed that to us, we began to understand it more, and then it became a real groundwork for how we would handle anything. First of all, we know how each other think. I know his personality, he knows mine. We know all the pros and cons of our personalities. And so now when we come to a point of needing to discuss and resolve, I already know pretty much what's going to drive his perspective, and he knows what's going to drive mine. I know what is his point of interest, and he knows what's mine because we understand how we're wired. So when I come to talk, I already know there's just some things I'm not going to bring up. There's just some angles I'm not going to take because his personality is not designed to come from that point. And he knows that about me. She's a certain way, she hears a certain way. So it helps us understand how we need to frame up our words and how we need to approach one another. And I'm telling you, it has made a huge difference to the point it creates the give and take. I guess I would call it the give and take, but it brings more to the clarity of the benefit of the doubt. And a lot of times we can miss giving each other the benefit of the doubt because if I know he's wired a certain way to hear a certain way, and if we look like we need to move through something, sometimes I don't, there's just no need to even have a conversation. I'm already knowing that's kind of how his mind works. That's kind of how he sees it. So if I'm trying to always get him to come from my angle, I'm going to disrupt. He can't do that. And likewise, because my brain doesn't work that way. His brain doesn't work that way. That's not the angle he's going to see. That's not going to be the most critical angle. So when we understand that, how we come to talk and communicate, how we move through anything, it becomes a little easier to do because we already get each other. We already get it.
Yeah, and that's what Jackie was mentioning. Timothy, that's 1 Timothy 4 there. Starting at verse 14, it goes down to the end, especially in the Amplified Version. But he starts with, till I come, make sure you read and make sure you stay focused on what God has said. Then it said, don't neglect the gift that you have. Those spiritual duties, that are what you receive through prophecy, what you receive by endowment. He said, meditate on these things. That is, think about what it is God has given to you, who you are, how you're made, and how you work. Then he said, know yourself and your personality well, so that you might, as you're doing things in ministry, save yourself and those who hear you. Now, that you can't just put that in church. The church stuff, this applies across the board. So if I know myself and my personality well, then there's going to be a benefit to me and my family, me and my co-workers, me and my partners in business. So it's so important that we all, I would think in this next season is going to be our instance for sure. And we got to really become fighters for togetherness. That in every relationship you function in, every person you're relating to, let's decide now we're going to bring togetherness to it. In order to do that, we got to know ourselves and then know the ones around us. A lot of times people come to know themselves, but they don't pay attention to nobody else. It's important. We are all given the task of coming up to the full measure of the stature of Christ. So it means Christ was fully balanced. He had all the personalities, and he was strong in all of them. He had no weaknesses. Now when we take a personality test, we'll show some strength and some weaknesses. The strength is the given start you got. God gave you that to get you started. Now the weaknesses are not to be ignored, but rather that's your assignment in this earth to come up to the full measure of Christ is to deal with those weaknesses. And what I find in time, people leave their weaknesses there, make excuses for them, and then therefore they keep fighting against their own direction, whatever they want in life, can't ever get to where they want to go because something in them, in the personality, which could have came from sometimes things happen in people's lives. We got to give an understanding to that. Everybody has an experience, and that's a part of how we shift. The Bible said, be not conformed to this age. Well, that ain't just for spiritual things, but it's for life, but be transformed by the entire renewal of the mind. So we got to work on how we're thinking because, we've been given a starting place by God to get somewhere because you got to think there's laws that we've got universal created laws. Those things work for anybody on earth. The law of the mind, the law of faith. Anybody can tap into those. But then there's some laws that are unique covenant laws that are given to believers. And I know on this station here, a lot of believers are out there. Well, Jesus said, if the two of you agree. That agreement process is for you who are believers. So we got a covenant law that if we can get together, any two of us, at work, any two of us, at home, any two of us in a relationship, any two of us with our family, if we can reach that place of agreement, Jesus said, where two of you are in agreement on anything, then there I am in the midst of it. And therefore, you got an awesome power at your disposal. And when we become more focused on this, that's worth fighting for.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. I like the way you're attacking it from the Bible and the practical way we're attacking this, because communication is so very important to build a healthy relationship. And I like how you started out with coming into the communication with the intent to agree. Everybody's sharing their perspectives, because you have to express your needs, you have to express your thoughts, your feelings, and your opinions. So that we understand, where you're coming from and how you're feeling, and then we have to be able to respect each other when we're communicating, be supportive of each other, and that active listening process. We're coming up on a break, Jackie. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back after the break, and we're going to jump back into this conversation.
Okay, guys, we're coming up here on a break here on Help Matters. So stay tuned in and lock down right here on Help Matters with Jackie
and Coach Patrick.
We'll be right back. Hello, CSRA. Welcome back to Help Matters with Jackie
and Coach Patrick.
Guys, we've been talking to Doctors Michael and Bernita Mitchell from Restoration Ministry International. Guys, we've been talking about building healthier and better family, and they are talking about relationship. So CSRA, I know you're out there listening, and I know you're out there. So guys, we're going to continue this interview and continue this conversation that we have been having with them. So we're coming back up on the second half. So Dr. Michaels and Bernita Mitchell, are you still there?
All right. I thought you guys might fall asleep because I know you had a late night last night.
Stay up, stay up. We're here about.
You got to connect to the last flight coming to Augusta, and then the later flight is an hour. Then you finally get on the plane. When you get to Atlanta, the gate, there's another plane there on the jetway. Then they change to another one, go to another concourse, get there. There's nobody there.
Wow.
Right.
And that's why we thank you for the sacrifice you made for being on this morning,
yes.
Because I know you need your rest. So we thank you for coming on. But we talked a lot about communications, and when we have those interactions, they should be positive. We got to stay away from that non-threatening behavior, and decide that if either of us, begin to get out of that safe zone or that calm zone, what are some of the things or tips, Pastor and Dr. B, that you guys can give to the people?
Well, the Bible commands that we're to be peacemakers. And this is something that we do quite well here in our relationship and with our family and things like that. Sometimes being a peacemaker can play out in more than one way. First of all, the peacemaker is the one who's going to look for a way to just say, hey, we're not going to let this thing rift us. We're not going to let this thing affect our environment to the point where it becomes toxic, and we find that we're getting to a point where we're not talking, we're not coming to the table to resolve. And sometimes that means even in the middle of trying to resolve an issue, we just kind of just leave it on the table and say, okay. And sometimes it might be one of the individuals or in the conversation platform that may have to take that approach and say, this just might not be something we can come to agreement on today, or we can work out. And this plays out in business, all types of relationships. But we're going to table it, and we'll come back to it later. And sometimes it's not that being said like it would be in a more professional setting, but in marriage or in family dynamics, you just have to see it and recognize that that's not going to get resolved right away. So we'll just kind of keep the relationship. We'll maintain the peace, and we won't let the devil sit up in here or get in here and rip us. So we're just going to come back to another time. And sometimes maybe these things can work themselves out. Sometimes the other person or both parties actually hurt each other, but in that moment, the things weren't said to clearly indicate that things were heard. So we go away from it and find that it works itself out. And then there's always committing things to prayer. When it looks like we're at a point where resolve is not taking place, just give it to God, cast it on Him, and let Him bring the past. We've had many experiences like that where, suddenly bling, a light came on for me, or, ding, a light came on for him, and things just sort of went where they needed to go what it looked like in trying to have it out and talk it out, it wasn't working. You see what I'm saying? So we have to be willing to be the peacemaker, and we have to be willing to consider the other persons or people in the way that we would want to be considered. Like, I can't come to a conversation table ready to just attack or to get my point across, or or to insist on anything. I come to get understanding, and to see how things can be clearly communicated in a loving and kind way to get things to move a certain way. So it's probably the dynamics of that, but we are asked to be peacemakers. So we all, and sometimes a relationship, a personality, like I said, we got all these different personalities and how they're wired. So some personalities are more prone to peace than others. And when we understand and identify that, we can find that one person more than the other person or people can be those who are always sort of bringing that element in that moment. And then we can't look at the other personalities and say, well, why is it always me? Well, that's your wiring. So you have more of an inclination for that, So you can't feel like I had to move through that. Pastor is a go-getter. He's a leader. He's a real strong leader. And what people call the type A personality. And but like you said earlier, we both understand the cons of our personality. So a lot of times it might be my wiring, which is more of that peacemaker. Not that I'm always the one to do it, and he never is. And that's not what we're saying. But I have more of an inclination for that. So I am like the moderator in our marriage and our relationship with the family and our kids. I am, even what we do in ministry, I can be more that moderator and the one trying to make sure everybody's on the same, on the same sheet of music as we move through what we need to do and we carry out ministry. And I understand that. So I'm not mad at him or anybody else. If it looks like they can not be that, it's like, well, that's my part, and I have an anointing for it. So.
Amen. And I totally agree. And this you talked a little bit about some of that you was talking about a little about compromise, that person always wanting to be right all the time or wanting to be, that can be damaging to a relationship. So tell us, how do you make adjustments so we can have a win-win situation, so we can, build a win-win solution? How do we handle that when, that person wants to be right, and there's no compromise there?
A lot of times that's tying into a personality type too. First of all, you have to understand, you have to know a person's heart. And I think a lot of times we miss that when we read behavior so much until we miss who they really are at the core. Because a lot of times when a person, there are many reasons why a person can be that way, when it looks like they're that way. There is a personality wiring where it's perceived as trying to be right, but it's not that they're trying to be right. They just have a strong perspective, okay? A strong perspective. So when how they see it to them, they're really strong in it, and their belief is that's the way it is. And so, and then, when it comes to how our brains are wired, that and the personality underlines that, it can create more flexible thinking, and then more not so flexible thinking. And that's all that's going on there. People sometimes who think they need to be right. It's not that they're intentionally trying to be right. They just have a strong perspective, and how they see it is the way they believe it really is.
Sometimes they have whatever you're discussing, people's heart can be really, really, really into that particular subject.
That's right.
And therefore that particular subject means a lot to them. And so you have to try to get them to come to the place, okay, we understand what this means to you, but here's what needs to happen. So we have to be trying to learn what kind of a hearers we are. But people hear a different place. You got the preconceived hearer, and a person that's listening, but they already made up their mind. So they're not even listening to you. They're just waiting for an opportunity because they already got preconceived. So you got to come to the table knowing Jesus said if we work with him, he's going to work with us. It's God helping us get through this. And that's perverted hearing. When a person is listening with where they want to manipulate, they want to gain an advantage. So they're not hearing you to hear your heart. They're hearing you to look for a place that they can step over you. Then you got the patient hearing. That's a good thing for people. But you can listen to people for understanding, to get clear deliberation. Then there's the person they hear for perspective. We've been talking about that a lot today. Hearing to get the other person's perspective. My wife and I, we don't agree on everything. So we've learned to try to hear where they're really coming from. Because I'll say something that I might say it 5 times. They say, you ever said, I know, but you haven't told me, I haven't perceived from you yet that you get it what I'm saying. Oh, I got it. Well, that's one thing you say, I got it, but you're not responding like you got it. So we got to make sure we repeat, make sure they go, stop a moment. I'm not, what you're hearing is not what I'm trying to say. So we got to give them a moment to say it another way so you can hear my heart.
A lot of times when it looks like somebody wants to be right, and I named that one dynamic is that sometimes it's not that they're trying to be right, they just have a strong belief and alignment with their perspective. But there is another aspect to what can bring that into relationship, and that's a more toxic one, where there's some type of narcissism. There's been conditioning now where the brain is somewhat impaired because in childhood somewhere, a child experienced trauma, they experience a whole lot of dysfunction, and now as an adult, or even in childhood, it can sometimes show up, but definitely as an adult in relationships, they're suffering because the brain is impaired. Because here's what we don't understand: how we treat our children is how they're going to develop. That's how that brain is going to develop. So as our brain develops, that's why as parents, we're role models, and even in leadership, we're role models. And so people's brains shape around the way we are, which becomes the experiences they have. And when children aren't treated well, sometimes it creates some type of impairment where that region of the brain for consideration, compassion, and sympathy didn't get engaged and it didn't develop well. So that's the scientific aspect of it. So sometimes when it's that, it can create an issue because now that person needs to begin to engage and develop to a place where they can now be more ready to listen, more willing to bring resolve, being more considerate, being more empathetic. That's a big topic out here now, empathy. But the Bible addressed that years and years ago. It's right there in the Word, how we're to consider the things of others above the things of ourselves. So based on your questions, if those are the two places now where people have to identify. In the first definition I gave, a description, it's a matter of knowing somebody's heart and not always reading behavior because we're not always aware of our behavior. But in the second dynamic of it, it could be something that's dealing with development and dealing with, dysfunction. And so those are just things people have to work through. And therapy is good for the second one. It really is. We don't need to run from therapy. Sometimes couple therapy or family therapy, that's something I do. I don't just throw it out there, but I do that. That is something sometimes families need to help bring that middle person who can hear everybody, because sometimes people can get so toxic in their relationships where they can't even hear each other. So that sometimes is a good way to bring that kind of unity and that kind of healing to a relationship.
Awesome.
That's awesome. You had a question from the social media platform. They say, how do I make a new relationship start on the right page? I know the Lord has to be the foundation, but how do we build without getting into flesh?
That's a pretty broad question because a lot of times relationships, first of all, just be yourself. I mean, we come to a relationship and we know there's always the immediate facades of wanting to impress each other. That's just going to happen. That's just going to happen without, what can be the toxicity of high performance, where someone can be trying to hide what they are to impress somebody to the point they're not really reflecting who they are. That's something else. But we are naturally a little in an impressive mode when we first meet people, and then as time goes on, we relax and we get to know each other more. But the best way to just build is just to be yourself. Yeah. Take the time to get to know each other, and just casually let that relationship grow.
Yeah, definitely taking time and coming to understand your why. If you can get down to why this relationship, why this person, why do I want them, why do they want me, and you got to remember everything established on purpose. What is the purpose for this new relationship? And getting that established up front and trusting the help of God to let you know where to go. Because if you go too far too fast, then you might miss some things that are key to knowing where a relationship could go. So just remember, you got to understand yourself. It's knowing your own self-concept. You could say another way, your own self-image, how you see yourself, and what makes you feel good about yourself, and why you want to be in this particular relationship. Because remember, there's the world system, and then there's the word system. In the world system is related to possession, what I got, what they got, position, who I am, what I do, proficiency, I'm good at this, that person's good at that, or presentation. How am I presenting myself? I'm presenting myself as me, or am I overperforming, doing a lot of stuff, buying a lot of stuff to try to present myself to something that I'm really not? So make sure you don't go by the world system, but the word system. And it's the word system where now we're dealing with something else, where his price that he paid for us. Well, I'm talking about the person by the precious blood of Jesus. So you're highly respected, you're highly loved and deeply valued by God. Then his potential through you, that I can do all things through Christ. So I would submit to any believer, make sure you put Christ into the center of this why for this new relationship. Then his possession of us, our value increased because we belong to him. If I had, you think about let's say Michael Jackson. Oh, you could go to Family Dollar and get a little glittery glove. I had a cousin that did one and went dance like him. All right, it ain't worth so much money. But if Michael Jackson put it on, then that thing is worth millions. All because of the value of the person who put it on. Well, you got Christ. And therefore, your value is dependent upon who you're connected with. And so bring that why, that connection to the table. And then finally, when it comes to the words, it's his plan for us. God already got a plan for your life. So try your best, even in every new relationship, to see how this relationship links with the plan of God.
We said at the front of the conversation, the best way is to make sure a relationship is not moving too much in the flesh is, first of all, try not to engage the flesh where it doesn't belong. Like, let's stay away from things we shouldn't be doing. And, like, I don't know if this is a relationship. It sounds like it's a courtship. So in courting, stay out of the flesh. That means watch your anger. Don't take on, things you shouldn't be doing. Stay celibate. If you're not married, don't engage in the flesh, and go back to the fruit of the spirit. If you can make that the foundation of your relationship going forward, the establishing good communication, even the courtship, you want to be able to do that. You want to be able to practice, the give, the allowing. You want to practice the meekness, the gentleness, and being kind. Those things cannot create a problem. You won't go amiss if you keep those rudimentary elements in the foundation of relationship, because that's what God's asking us to do. That's the fruit of the Holy Spirit. So you can't go off. You can't get it wrong. You might miss it sometimes, but if that's the conviction, the relationship will always be in a good place and move forward.
And ask God to guide you.
Yeah.
And even if, because sometimes, we know sometimes from the beginning, this is of God. Other times, not necessarily sure. And sometimes people don't want to get God involved because they can look at something and go, if I get him involved, he's going to say no to that. Well, if that's the case, let him say no if you really want to have the business relationship. So get God involved.
All right. I like the way you said that, First Lady. You got to put it into practice. You have to put it into practice. And then you're talking about that probably something from childhood trauma, those behaviors, those automatic defaults that we are more prone to do because of what has been shaped around our brain. And and we have to understand that, even going into a relationship, and someone even asks about that going into a relationship, how do you make a new relationship start on the right by going into a new relationship?
Yeah, and I think Dr. B covered that pretty good.
Yes.
Just know yourself, and as Pastor said, know yourself, and why, your why, why
Yes.
is this relationship important to you? Where do you expect the relationship to go? And all that needs to be known up front. Listen, time flies when we're having fun. So Dr. B and Pastor, I want you guys to wrap up with anything you want to wrap up with for the next 3 minutes, and we're gonna close the show.
Okay, well, I would just say, everything we said in a nutshell, those are great, great principles to undergird any relationship. And we have to understand what's the flesh in anything. The flesh here, people can always regard it as those evil intentions that Paul mentions in Galatians 5, starting at verse 19, where it's all the evil desires of the flesh. But flesh just means your natural self. Watch that. Kind of know what your trigger points are. What can anger me, or even in areas where a partner or someone close to me has indicated to me where I need work. Be cognizant of those areas, because somebody who genuinely cares about you is kind of making you aware that there's something there that needs a little work, and they're not making fun of you, they're not putting you down, and we all have to be open to that because we have subconscious behavior. So to kind of take everything we said in a nutshell and make it applicable to your real everyday relationship, and know that if the person who asked the question online about how to minimize the flesh taking over relationship, just always keep in mind that, and Pastor said it so why, what is your why? Make sure your why in being with anybody is not something superficial. Always it's what they make, always their position at work, always their status in society. Oh, I love it because that's a man of God. That's all great, but when you're with somebody and every day in the natural, they have to be more than just a man of God, because a lot of times who they are out on the platform of ministry or carrying out kingdom assignments, that's an anointing in that moment. But at home, or even when if you're not married yet, but when you're just around each other, they're a real person with a personality wiring. And so we still have to have the right reasons for being with people or why we're drawn to people. So that why was a good point. Know your why for why you're with someone. And you might want to get to know what is their why for being with you. Because you don't want to be anything superficial. Because what you don't want to be is a trophy spouse or a trophy mate or a trophy girlfriend or a trophy boyfriend. You want someone to be with you because of who you really are as a person, and likewise. So we have to make sure we have answered our why, or we're learning to answer what that is.
Yeah. And just stay focused, knowing that all things work together for our good and that God got us. And so if you especially had tough relationships in the past, you don't want to have that going forward. Don't just look at the other people. Take a good look at yourself to make sure that you're doing the things you need to do to make the changes you need to make. And so remember, people change on 4 conditions. They change when they hurt enough that they have to change. They change when they feel enough that they're inspired to change. They change when they learn enough that they want to change. And then they change when they receive enough and they're able to change. So you receive enough information. You got enough desire in your heart now. You've seen enough from the Word of God in life. And then, if you've already been hurt in a relationship, I pray you've heard enough to go, I'm going to change me so that I won't go back through the same thing again.
That's good. And when all fails, seek help. Just.
I think we're going to keep emphasizing you all too. In some cases, you might need some help. And if you do, don't be afraid to get it. It's only going to benefit you.
All right. Well, thank you, Doctors and Mike and Bernita Mitchell. It's always awesome having this conversation with you guys every year, because you always bring something new to the conversation, and you had a lot of wonderful comments on Facebook, people saying wonderful information, great information. Thank you. So we thank you always for sacrificing your time. And we know y'all been through a lot coming home. So we appreciate it so much. And it's never, not getting this information is like just getting it for the first time, because it refreshes things. So we thank you so much for taking the time out to join us this morning here on Health Matters and sharing us some nuggets and wisdom and information on relationship.
All right. So all right. Thank you so much again. And we'll see you guys soon.
All right, guys. All right. God bless. All right, guys. I hope you guys heard that information. Now, you want to go back and, listen to that information. Always follow Get Fit with Jackie Fitness on Facebook, because we replay the interview. So you always can follow us on there. So, guys, great information, Coach. Great information.
Very good. Very good information.
Yes,
we got to get up out of here.
And guys, remember, we're here to help you to become a better you, to be the best you that you can be. We like to leave you with 3 John 2. Beloved, wish above all things that you may prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prosper. Guys, you have a blessed and wonderful day, and be safe. All right, guys. Thank you for joining.
You matter. Health begins in the spirit and the mind. Take time to love you. Live well. Be well. Yeah.